Welcome back, Spurs fans. Ready for a rewind of the thriller minute 2-2 draw against Manchester United? No fluff here, just the real deal from those with North London in their hearts. Was this a tactical tango or just another wild ride in the Premier League? We'll take a look back at what went down from those edge of your seat moments to the oh so close chances. We've got you covered. So settle in, click that like button, subscribe if you want to, and in the meantime, let's get started. Tonight, it's just the two of us, just Ash and myself. We may be joined further along the line, but we'll see. We're definitely going to get going and make the most of it. Ash, how you doing?
All right, mate. Thank you very much. It's nice and sunny as always in LA. It's a bit chilly, but going out this week. And yesterday's game is actually the game that was the biggest in my life growing up because my dad was a Man U fan. So the home and away games were always not Arsenal, not Chelsea. It was Spurs and Man U. So I take a really nice pleasure in the fact that they only took 1 point off us this season.
Well, I think I would have preferred a game like the one towards the start of the season where we did them over nice and easy, and it looked quality. There was some good stuff yesterday. Don't get me wrong. There was some good stuff, and it was very, very heartening to see the boys back in the centre of defence, Romero and Van der Ven. Maybe slightly lesser version of Van der Ven than we saw at the start of the season because I still don't think he's 100% there yet. But we know Romero's back. Why do we know Romero's back? Because he went in two-footed stamp. There's our boy. That's what we expect to see from Romero nowadays. Yeah. What did you think of the match overall?
Yeah, like I said, I was happy. Well, first of all, apart from Vicario, so we got 10 outfield players and we got 5 starters missing. I mean,
Yeah.
really. I mean, the good thing about Ange is that he really doesn't use it as an excuse. But if those 5 guys are healthy, they go straight into the team. So given that, yeah, other teams have injuries, but those are our 5 key starters, and I think you're right about Van der Ven. So I was happy with the result, and I think, like Ange, happy with the effort given the circumstances. Because let's hope that the second part of the season, starting off with Man City in the FA Cup, let's hope that we get some of those players back and that we can get back to those, as you were saying, Stu, back to those that run we had in the first 10 games.
Yeah, that would be very, very nice. I think we're going to get there. I don't think we're too far off from seeing some major players coming back. Maddison apparently has an outside chance of making it against Manchester City. And then maybe if he doesn't make that, maybe we'll see him against Brentford. Last game of the month. That'd be very nice. And, kick off February with almost full team, just missing Son, maybe. That would be very, very, very nice. And I don't think there's anyone that would complain about that because, quite frankly, at that point, we could become very, very hard to beat.
Yes, we could. Also another aspect of the game yesterday, it shows that, what. So we had this discussion about Ange's magic sauce. Look at the bench, and we had 2 goalies on the bench and only 8 players, which shows how skint we kind of are.
Yeah. I had a little grumble about that. I understand why Ange is a little bit reticent to put players on the bench. He's thinking, look, if I'm going to put a player on the bench, I want to be able to use him. But he doesn't think some of these players are ready. But then is Dorrington ready? I would argue that Dorrington is not ready to play a Premier League game at this point. So for me, I would be very worried if he came on the pitch. I think he could quite easily get bullied off the ball and, maybe not live up to the hustle and bustle of a Premier League game because it is a very, very physical league. I mean, I live over here in France where it's a bit more sedate and there's a lot more protection for the players. You don't get that in the Premier League. And I think Dorrington needs a loan move somewhere. Donnelly as well, I suspect. But if we're going to have them on the bench, why are we not just pushing out and just bring in 2 other players? Because we could have dropped one of those goalkeepers.
Yep.
We could have dropped them. We could have brought in 2 younger players and take them to Old Trafford just for the experience of being part of a match day squad. just be part of sitting on the bench and, seeing how things go, because that is the kind of thing that does help you evolve as a footballer and as a person, just having those experiences.
Here's a question. Here's a thought, because Ange hasn't been. Phillips, of course, went out. He was on the bench. He went out on loan. Is there a possibility, because Ange is not rotating those guys in, as you said, even just taking them, sub appearances? Is there a possibility that Champions League qualification really is the overriding goal, if not stated? Then it's the goal because of the monies involved, and that he will always, given that, if that's the goal, he will always try to play the strongest team available, and he won't roll the dice on Dorrington, Phillips, Donnelly, Iago, or whomever. What do you think about that idea?
I don't think it's about prioritizing top four. I don't think it's about prioritizing a cup. I think it's about going out to try and win every game. And he said before, as long as we're in this with a shout, we're going for the title. I look at that and go, we ain't winning the title, mate. We ain't there yet. But the reality is that we've got a very good side. We've got a side that's gelling well. We've got a side that's playing some really fantastic football. We've got a manager that is not prepared to sit back and go, oh, our place is in second place or third place or fourth place. He's saying, no, we're going to go for it. We're going to try and get whatever we can, and we're going to do that with the best team we've got. And that means not weakening it by bringing in someone like Donnelly who may not be ready yet. I mean, I've seen this weekend, I watched the under-18s, I watched the under-21s, and there were people calling for players like Tyrese Hall to get a go. I think Tyrese Hall is a fantastic little player. He's a fantastic young player, but he's 18 years old. He's got a lot of growing up to do. He's got a lot of learning to do on the pitch. And I don't think he's ready to be thrown into a Premier League game along with maybe two other players that are around the same kind of age, very young team, and expect to make a difference, because that's what's going to happen. Because we all know that the Tottenham Hotspur fan base is a pretty demanding group. We put players in and we expect them to do brilliantly and perhaps do better than they should at certain points. And you can look at things and you could say, right, he actually had that guy had a pretty good game. And yet you'll still find certain members of the fan base absolutely slagging the guy off and being a little bit harsh towards him. I mean, you and I were talking before the video started, and you mentioned a player. Who was it? Vicario.
Yeah.
So how did Vicario play?
Well, this is, first of all, tied into that. I thought perhaps Betancourt was the man of the match just because of his presence and the fabulous goal. Just there were some other guys who were also very good, but I'm just picking him. But then I see people's ratings on a guy like Vicario, who I think has been perhaps overall our best player because he's played all the games. You know what I mean? Nobody else has played all the games, and he has. Anyway, he didn't actually have any saves to make yesterday. He was collecting the ball pretty well on balls, crosses into the box, set pieces. He was very active on that. He was kind of flawless and kicking the ball out to his defenders. He didn't have any shots to save. Only had 2 shots on net, which probably no goalie would have saved. And I see people rating him a 6, and I'm just wondering. I know these are subjective, and it's not really any big deal, but should somebody like that, who's basically actually one of the people who gave him a 6, said, yeah, he played with a fairly high standard, and I'm going, fairly high standard, and gave him a 6. To me, six is, if you're in school and you get a 6 out of 10, it's kind of mediocre, so I probably would have given him a 7 or a 7.5, because he was kind of faultless on anything and didn't screw up. I don't know what your thought is on that.
I think not screwing up is a pretty low bar, but let's go higher. I mean, the guy was very good with the ball at his feet. Calm in possession. He was a calming influence to the rest of the back line. A number of times he came out and he claimed that ball.
He
No
did.
fuss, no fuss, no muss. He just did his job properly, and he instilled confidence throughout the rest of the team. I thought he did a brilliant job. I would put him at least a 7.
Yeah.
There was some moments where he was getting the ball and they were closing down the wide players, and he just split the centre backs, split the forwards that would go right between them, straight forward onto our midfielder, and we just carried on from there. We had some great build-up play. It was great play coming out of defence yesterday, and that started with him. And the goals that he conceded, any goalkeeper in the league would have conceded those. There's not a single goal. Alisson would have conceded that. Ederson would have conceded that. There's no goalkeeper in the league that would have saved those 2 goals, I think.
Absolutely. We spoke about this a few weeks ago, that Ange ball. I think it really does how important, and we didn't get Raya, we dodged a bullet by not getting Raya, and we got the cheap option, Vicario. He just impresses me with his calmness, his coolness. He has great passion for Spurs. And as you were just saying, Stu, you're making the observation, sending a pass right up to Betancourt or Højbjerg, whoever was in that position there, and giving. And of course, they know that they can't dawdle on the ball, but they pass it out to Udogie or Porro. He really sets a tone, because we know Hugo, as great of a servant as he was the last couple of years, his distribution was just not good, and it would be
his strong point. Let's put it that way.
Yes, and he would essentially give the ball back to the opposition, whereas Vicario, he should get an 8 for every game, just because he starts everything, and I'm so happy that we have him.
I think David Raya's an interesting one. I think if David Raya had come in, we'd be talking very, very highly of him now, because he is a good, solid goalkeeper who is good at getting the ball at his feet. I don't think Arsenal suits him in a way. I don't think Arsenal is that team that passes the ball out from the back as well as other teams do. I mean, they've got some good players, but they've also got some injuries problems as well. So, they've had to play players out of position to cover at times this season. Every club has. But I don't think that things have worked well. There was an interesting stat, though. A couple of weeks ago, I saw David Raya has conceded a goal in every game where there has been more than 1 shot on target in the game against him. So he gets 1 save, and then it's almost guaranteed to be a goal. I don't know if that's still the case, but I thought that was a really interesting stat, and I thought, oh, I like that one. But again, I think if he'd come in with Ange playing the way he wants to play, he'd have done a good job. But they found someone to come in and do as good a job for an awful lot less money, which meant we could then funnel money into things like the Van der Ven signing.
Absolutely. Just some of yesterday's play. Be interesting to see what you feel. First of all, I'll ask, who was your man of the match, and then second of all, what do you think about one of them? Only had a very short appearance, but our 2 additions. How do you think your man of the match, and what were the two additions? How do you think they performed?
I think everybody here knows I'm a massive Bentancur fan. Huge Bentancur fan. So for me, he was my man of the match. There are some very notable mentions though from that game. Richarlison ran his tail off. He works hard, but yesterday I thought was a different level. He's really stepped it up. He was harrying. Number of times he closed down their defenders and won the ball back for us, really high up the pitch. Was something I've not seen that kind of determination from him before. And I really, really enjoyed that. Obviously, Bentancur was great. Romero almost looked like he'd never been away. 2-footed stamp and everything. Pedro Porro, great. Udogie, fantastic. It's definitely not safe for work and definitely not to be shown to your children, but there's a video going around on the X which kind of showed just how good Udogie was whenever Garnacho tried to get away from him. It's just like, come here. No, you're not. You can't do that. Garnacho was in Udogi's pocket pretty much the entire match. He had a couple of moments, but he was playing much deeper, and he had to get away from Udogi to get any time on the ball.
He he's a real physical beast, real physical beast. And to think he's that young, and also a guy like Saar and Van de Ven,
Mhm.
he just such great potential. But so the other part of it, yeah, Bentancur is like a Rolls Royce out there. He's just, you know, uh, is there any other Spurs player in the past that you would liken him to? I'll tell you this: if he continues scoring and being healthy, he almost is kind of Huddle-esque, you know?
Oh, that's a big call.
I know.
Um, I
Yeah.
think the closest player you can really compare him to is Dembele. Just that touch of class in the middle, the ability to turn his way out of trouble, drop a shoulder, lose the guy. Um, and in some ways, he's even better. The way he gets into the box and he can score
Right.
goals.
Right.
Dembele, even though
Never did
Dembele
that.
started as a striker, he didn't do that
He
that
didn't.
often. A couple of goals a season, maybe. And you
Yes.
can see Bentancur doing better than that.
Absolutely.
So very happy with him. Somebody earlier today was saying, in terms of classy players, when Berbatov left, gnashed his teeth and moaned, "We're never going to get a player as classy as that." When Dembele left, you're like, "Oh, we've got one," and then he left, you're like, "We're never going to get a player as classy as that." And now we've got Bentancur and, of course, Bissouma. Let's not forget Bissouma's got that ability to just turn away from trouble and look really silky at times as well. So, you know, like Ange, I can't wait to see them together.
Absolutely. I mean, just think about Stu, our midfield yesterday. Essentially, those three, maybe Bentancur, wouldn't have been starting if the other guys. I mean, if the other players, Kulishev's, Decky,
Mm.
and two guys who are away, and Madison, that's a great. We got like 3 into 5 type thing, you know. Um,
None of those three midfielders started the game against Manchester United in the home match.
in the first game, there you go.
So
There,
we've had a completely different turnaround in the midfield.
yeah,
Um, Two of the players that started the game yesterday didn't start up front against Manchester United in the home match. So two players, we've
it's
gone from
five.
having an injury crisis in midfield, sorry, an
Yeah,
injury crisis in defence to having an injury crisis in midfield
yeah,
and problems elsewhere, you know. So I mean, you were asking about our debutants.
yeah.
Timo Werner, I thought was solid, showed his pace at times. This is a guy that's played something like 200 minutes across the entire season so far. He's
Wow.
had two starts in the Bundesliga. So for him to come in and show what he did, I thought was really good and really encouraging for the future. Um, Dragoshin, I liked what I saw. He came on, he took over the right centre back slot, and then Van der Ven went off like 4 minutes later, and he was like, okay, and he moved over to the left centre back slot, and it was no different to him. He got the ball, he played it nicely, he did what he needed to, look calm and solid, and he's 21 years old.
21. Yeah.
I mean, what were you doing when you were 21 years old? I know I wasn't being anywhere like as calm and dependable as that. So yeah, I
Youth.
thought I
Yeah.
thought it was I thought it was really good performances from both of our debutants. I look forward to seeing more. Hopefully, we're not going to be forced to put Dragoshin in right away, because hopefully that means that Romero and Van der Ven are fit, and those two together, just colossus at the back, just fantastic players.
How do you if those two guys, the Colossi, if those two
Colossi, yeah.
Colossi, if those two players are fit, so we got Man City on the Friday, and then maybe the Brentford. I don't know if it's a Tuesday or Wednesday after. Um, would you? Where do you see him slotting in situations if like that? Do you see him? Do you see Ange maybe rotating in the second game? How else is he gonna, or is he just gonna keep him on as a sub, bring him on as a sub?
I think it's a really interesting signing because we brought in someone that could be a starter.
Right.
Okay. But we've also brought in someone who is playing in the position of one of our best players, who's also a vice captain of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And realistically, if he's fit, if he's not suspended, then he goes into the team. But he's also missed something like 45% of the games that Tottenham have played since he signed for the club. Whether that's going away on international duty and picking up an injury, whether it's being injured, whether it's being suspended, quite often it's been being suspended. But he's missed something like 45% of all of the games that he could have played. So
Romero,
that
you're
means
talking
that's an awful lot of games to pick up there. So Dragoshin's got a chance of playing a decent number of games, even if he's looked at as the rotation option. And then there are games like at the end of the match, we were playing three at the back yesterday.
did we finish off with three?
We finished off with three at the back.
Who were
So
the three?
so we had Romero in the centre. When Dragoshin came on, he was playing on right centre back, and then we had Van de Ven left centre back. Van de Ven went off. Dragoshin switched over to left centre back, and Royale came on and played right centre back.
Oh, so we had three.
And
So he
yeah,
did use that formation.
three at the back, which is something he's done at Celtic in the past. It's not. This isn't like a brand new thing for him. He's done this in the past. He knows how it works.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
that's that's an interesting thing. I never used to watch the Celtic games. And I was wondering that perhaps sometimes three at the back is a plan B or C, you know. It's with the Man City game, luckily we got 12 days off, you know. You got to believe that is going to be one hell of a tactical battle, you know. I'm so excited that we're actually playing Man City because it really is. It, you're up against the best, and I like to see that. And well, we drew 3-3, didn't we, already against them this season? You know, what what are you thinking ahead? We've got 12 days. They're probably giving off the players what 2 or 3 days holiday or something.
4 days off. 4 days.
How many?
Apparently they've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off, and then they come back and prepare for the game on the
So
Friday.
so they're actually training now, and then they've got days
Yeah.
off at the end of the week.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I thought they would have given them straight away, but all right.
No, apparently Ange Postecoglou was given the choice of taking them away to Dubai or somewhere like that for warm weather training, and he was like, "No, we're going to stay here at Hotspur Way, and we're gonna make sure that we drill and we work, and then players get a rest, get some energy back into their legs, recover a little bit. A couple of players maybe get over their injuries, and bring them all back, and we'll just have a few days where we go over those basics, those points, and we make sure that everybody's ready to go."
So which days? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they train
Yep.
again next Monday.
Yeah, that's it. Back into training on Monday.
So they only have like
weekend with their families, have
Yeah.
some time off, chill out, boys, but make sure you're ready to come back to do some hard work when you get back.
4 days before the Man City game. Of course, we don't know who might be available for that Man City game. Did you say what was the thing? Madison, maybe, or
Madison, maybe. If Mali, there's a chance that Mali could have dropped out of the African Cup of Nations by then, so maybe Basima will be back.
Yeah, but have we got over his suspension yet?
I think that was the last game of his suspension, so
he could be.
Yeah. There's a chance.
All right.
There's always a chance. But even if he doesn't, if Madison comes back, Kulusevski, we're missing Kulusevski. Kulusevski comes back. We can play Kulusevski right wing, we can play him through the center. All right.
Now, what do you think about, if you're saying through the center, what do you think about having both Kulusevski and Bentancur in the middle, and then whomever, Skip or Højbjerg in the number 6? Do you think that's weighted too heavily with the creative guys, or do you think that Bentancur can cover as well as be a creative person?
Kulusevski works so hard. Kulusevski runs all day. I mean, he will absolutely put in the yards. He would have started this game if he hadn't been ill. So
I've got fighting, right? Bentancur, Decky playing in the same midfield.
Yeah, and just imagine those two linking up together. It'd be lovely. I think we're ever going to see a game of Bentancur, Madison, and Kulusevski all together. But just imagine that. It's like liquid football. That would be.
Well, I mean, you could put Bentancur in the 6 there, right? And then the other two guys ahead of him. That would be what was the word you used?
Liquid football.
Ooh, okay.
That's what I'm calling it. I might have taken it from somewhere else, maybe. Who knows?
Molten liquid football. I like it. Yeah, right. I'm kind of excited about that game, actually, to be honest. Of course, De Bruyne could have a barnstormer, or Silva does, or whatever. But even when we went down, is that true? This season, when we've gone down, if we've gone down, we seem to hang in there and have a shot at it. Even the Chelsea game, and even, what was the game we were down 4-0 and got two goals? Was that Newcastle? We
No.
were down 4-0. We ended up
4.
and we lost 4-2.
I don't remember that one. I've
That was just a few
obviously,
weeks ago. That was a
I
few
no,
weeks
obviously just got one out of my memory. I can't remember painful losses.
ago.
No.
Well, I think we were down 4-0.
We
And we
did well
got
against Newcastle. We did well against Newcastle. Hang on, I'm gonna have
wasn't
to go through
Newcastle.
the.
Wasn't
No, I hope
Newcastle.
not.
Brighton
Oh, Brighton. That might be Brighton. Yeah.
might have been, but
Let's have
no.
a look.
But even when we were down 4-0, we were still, and that's a wonderful thing, not giving up.
Yeah, Brighton 4-2. That
Right.
was the one. Yeah, that
Right.
was a hard one to take.
Yeah.
In
But
a game where I expected us to struggle. I mean, we talked about that one in the
yeah,
pod, and I said I thought that was going to be the hardest game for us over that period.
that's right.
And yes, I was proved right, but I wouldn't have liked to have been. I'd much rather have been. But yeah, I mean, even though we were down by a lot, it
Yeah.
wasn't a good game. We turned it on. We actually got ourselves back into a position where we looked like we might be able to do something. And even towards the end, you were like, still in with a chance here. Because this team doesn't give up. They've got some real chutzpah,
That's my
as
point.
they say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, well, what do you think about yesterday's game? Was Johnson a little leggy? Was he, he wasn't that imposing, was he? Yeah, I think he had
He
one shot.
wasn't he wasn't that great. Of all the players on the pitch, he was probably the weakest player on the pitch yesterday, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Which, considering my feelings on Højbjerg, I thought Højbjerg actually had a pretty good game yesterday. I will say it right now. Højbjerg had a pretty good game, pretty solid. One of the things that really stood out for me, he was showing for passes out from the back, which in the past he has almost hidden from. I thought he did really well. Oliver Skip, loads of people having a right go at Oliver Skip, not just about this game, but in previous ones. I thought Oliver Skip had a good, solid game. There was one pass, he just pinged it out to
Oh,
Werner.
yeah.
It was a beautiful pass. It takes real good technique to be able to do that and created a chance. If Werner had been a little bit more in form, a little bit fitter, bit more match fit, that would have been a proper chance for us, and we could have scored a goal there. In the end, he dragged it wide, but it's early days for Werner. But yeah, you go through the weakest performance of everyone. I felt was Johnson, but
Yeah.
I think he's got time on his side. He's what, 22, and we were saying earlier that the fan base can be hard to please at times.
Yeah.
It can be. But one other thing is there seems to be a very small section of the fan base that loves to jump on a player's back and have a go at them. They did it with Aaron Lennon. Sonny,
True.
when he came in, Sonny in his first season wasn't brilliant. It was like, oh, this guy's a waste of money. He should never have been signed. Look at him. He's never going to be able to adapt. Right. Check him out now. Anybody want to say that Sonny is a waste of money? I do not think so. He's been brilliant for us. And Brendan Johnson came in, wasn't expected to be playing as many games as he has because of injuries. He's been forced into playing that position. I expect that they wanted Mana Solomon to play more on the left. They're expecting Ivan Perisic to play more on the left. And because of injuries to those two, he's had to fill in. And he's never been given the chance to really get down to training and have time away from matches and build up that understanding that is needed for a player for that position. I don't think anyone at the moment really has that full-on understanding of the way that Ange wants us to play. And we're not going to see that until next season. Next season, we are going to be something special to watch, I tell you.
I totally agree. That's why I wondered if indeed, because of injury suspensions, that the season goes a little pear-shaped, that yes, we're still rebuilding for next season, and will be really fantastic, of course, given injuries again, once they could happen anytime. Yeah, I totally agree. A little bit more maturity for all those players, a little bit more, as you said, under Ange's tactics and philosophy. Um, oh, we are going to be. It would be kind of great to get into some European competition, so we could have some extra games next season, so we can play the squad, and get them all contributing. So if called on to be in the first team, they are ready to go. When these players come back, Andrew's his fingers crossed. He's gonna have some good selection issues. It was just bonkers yesterday having those two goalies there and looking at the bench and going, Brian Hill is the only possible impact player on the bench. That's all we had,
Yeah, which is definitely a concern. But you also you look forward, and next season you're going to have players coming back from loans. Alfie Devine's going to be back, and he's been playing well out on loan. We're going to have Ashley Phillips come back from 6 months on loan at Plymouth, having got 6 months of football under his belt, because he's going to play there. He is going to play. He came straight into the side and he played well. There's probably going to be other players going out on loans. I wouldn't be surprised to see our under-21 team get absolutely decimated by loans in the next couple of weeks.
Really?
Santiago, Donnelly, Lancashire, all of those players. I expect them all to go somewhere else unless they're absolutely needed for the first team. So Donnelly maybe has to stay behind, but he really needs a loan somewhere where he can go and impress and get some time in. Yeah, he should be playing.
Do they these guys who are on the bench, are they playing under 21 football as well regularly, or are they being kept from that because they're being saved for the bench for the first team?
I think it depends on how close a game is to an under-21 game. It's like we played Southampton the day before. The under-21 game was against Southampton. We played them the day before we played Manchester United. So no one from the under-21 side managed to make it into the subs bench. It's a shame, because I would like to have seen Lancashire there after, getting a couple of goals. One very nicely taken. I don't know if you saw the second one, but the second one's probably like the most fluky goal you've ever seen in your life. Defender tried to lever the ball out of the penalty area, and it hit him flush in the face and went straight into the goal. You'll take it. He probably doesn't appreciate the stinging leather feeling on his face, but yeah, I'm sure he takes it. He celebrated it whilst holding his face, and there's probably a couple of tears there.
Yeah, exactly. I just brought this up previously, halfway through the season, and we got a break now. I would pick, because he's played all the games. If Madison had played all the games, for sure would have picked Madison. But Cario is my player of the first half. Who would be your player of the first half?
It's a difficult one. Vicario's played every game. Pedro Porro, I believe, has played every game but one.
He's been really good too.
And he's been really good too. Sonny has been a good player again. He's stepped up and having a better season than last time out. Yeah. But for me, I think Pedro Porro would be my player of the season so far. Although he's got the highest number of shots without actually scoring a goal in the Premier League. So I mean, who scored? Put a tweet out earlier today, and it was like he's got a 0% conversion rate in the Premier League. But he's the only defender on the list. Everyone else was attacking midfielder or forward. But he creates so many chances for us. So many key passes, so many big chances created from the stuff that he does. And he got another assist yesterday. He was the one that put the ball in for Richarlison, wasn't he?
He's got like 8. I think he might lead all defenders with assists.
Yeah.
We didn't mention him. You just mentioned him. 6 and 6. Richarlison has been he worked his socks off, and he's been pretty good at the sharp end as well recently.
Yeah, I still got that feeling about Richarlison. There's more to come.
Oh, good.
There's something there, I think, still not quite clicked. He's running better now. I still don't think he's got that free running onto the ball and clinically finishing past the goalkeeper, which we have seen from him in the past. Maybe starting out from wider positions when he was at Everton and Watford. But I think there's more to come from him. And again, I think it comes down to making sure that the approach play is right. We play out of the back so well, but then our final ball, our approach play is a little bit stilted and a little bit slow. So if we can get that right, and I think that is going to come, it's going to be the kind of thing that really takes time because a lot of defenses are drilled, drilled, and drilled to make sure that they don't give up chances, you know. But if Ange can get it right, and I strongly believe he can, we are going to be ripping sides apart. Some team at some point in the season, they're going to get hit for 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And when that does, when that clicks, you're just going to go, wow, we could steamroller the majority of this league. There's going to, of course, there's going to be tough games, and there's going to be teams right up there with us: Liverpool, Manchester City, the other lot from North London. You know, the teams that have spent big money to get up there, they'll continue to spend big money. You know, they're being linked. Those clubs are now being linked to players like Osimhen. You know, we're not going to get linked to Osimhen. We're getting linked to Anana from Everton. That's as close as we're getting. Starts with the same letter. That's all there is to it. But we're starting to show our strength. We're starting to show the validity of Daniel Levy's thinking. Daniel Levy's thinking is we build up our club, and so we're in a point where we are financially strong when everybody else is weak. And right now, a lot of clubs are looking financially weak, and we are looking financially strong. And we can come in and we can say, yeah, you think Richarlison's worth 80 million? We'll give you 60. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chelsea want someone like, you know, probably want to sell Conor Gallagher because he's 100% profit on their books. And they say, well, you're saying you want 55, we'll give you 42 or something like that. And they'll probably make a deal at that. It'll be towards the end of the window. And I'm sure we'll talk about that on the evening of the transfer window. Little plug now. In case you're watching at this point and you still haven't clicked the like button, click the like button because we are going to be doing a transfer window special where we will be on for 3 hours, starting 2 hours before the closure of the window and going on for 1 hour afterwards. So we'll definitely be keeping everybody up to date on what's going on, whether it's Spurs or somebody else. And we'll see how exciting that could be. There we go, plug over. But yeah, I mean, I think we're at a point where we can actually start taking better players off other clubs when they start to struggle for money. We've been linked with, was it João Gomez at Wolves? Wolves are struggling for money. They need to try and recoup a little bit. And they're saying, oh, we want 45 million for him. Yeah, they'll probably take 35 million for him. And he's a good player. Whether he'll be able to fit into our side with the homegrown numbers that we've got and number of foreign players that we've got, something we need to be very careful of. But let's just see what we can do now because we're starting to actually show the value of Daniel Levy's strategy and it's working out.
Well, we didn't mention this. I don't think we've spoken about it. Speaking of strategy, his strategy, how real do you think Dragishin perhaps going to Bayern was, and how did Mr. Levy, how did he snafu that and get the guy to come to us for a pretty reasonable cost, right?
Well, the price was something like 30 million euros in total at the end, and it's been fairly blatantly explained how everything works because Dragishin's agent is a bit of a loudmouth. I'm pretty sure that Daniel Levy's not going to get on with him very well. But he's been all over the Romanian press talking about how things happened, and you know it's been translated into English for anybody else. I don't speak Romanian. My wife tells me what's going on, but apparently the Spurs hierarchy were negotiating right up to something like 3 o'clock in the morning on the day of the transfer. And they finally got to a point where Genoa said, okay, we will accept that bid. And it was what, the 30 million euros plus Jed Spence going on loan. And we're paying Jed Spence's wages, by the way. So they've got a very nice option. They've got a decent attacking right wing back who's costing them nothing in wages. For the rest of the season, they get to buy him cheap, relatively cheap, if they decide they like him. And we got our toe in the water, and it came down to Dragishin and his choice. Did he want to go to Bayern Munich and maybe being 4th or 5th choice central defender there? Or did he want to come to Spurs and be part of the Postecoglou revolution and battling for a first team place. And he decided, and he said to his agent, I gave my word to Spurs. If they come through with the money and make Genoa happy, I will go to them. And he was a man of his word. And that I thought was really impressive because he turned down a bigger pay packet at Bayern.
So Ange's chat with him must have been great. You know, he must have convinced him that this is a better project to come to. He must have convinced him that. Well, what does Ange? Because he seems to, when he gets on the phone, he seems to get them to come. You know,
I think he talks the language that the footballers want to hear, and it's
no
not about
fear,
money.
no fear football.
Yeah, it's not about money. You know, money's crept into the game and it's made things a lot more not as good. Let's put it that way. You know, I think there's a certain something that's been missing from the game for a while, and it's coming back with Ange. It really is. He's not interested in talking about the money that a player costs. He's not interested in talking about a player's wages. He's not interested in talking about any potential deals that might come in or anything like that. What he wants to, if he gets a chance to talk to a player, he talks to them about the football they're going to be playing. Right? And
Yeah,
that's what you want to do. I mean, you're a writer. When you get talking, okay, let's say you're talking to a Hollywood star. Are you
yeah.
going to talk to a Hollywood star about their pay packet, about their next big deal, or are you going to talk to them about the piece of work that they just put in, their artistic integrity? Are you going to talk to them about what they just put on the screen for everyone else to enjoy for the next 100,000 years or however long film lasts? You know, what's gonna people gonna get into a conversation? Is it going to be about money? No, they've got enough money.
Yeah. I recently interviewed Sofia Vergara. I don't know if you know who she is.
Oh, I
And
absolutely do.
yeah,
Yeah.
because she's got interesting, just in line with what you're saying. She's doing a new series based on a real life on a
Mhm.
female godmother, not a godfather, a godmother. And this is horrible. Her name is Griselda Blanco.
Mhm.
Um, I believe she was also from Colombia, but then she moved to Miami, like a lot of them do, and she was doing her drug business here in the US. And it was just a completely different sort of role for Sophia. But she made an interesting point. You know, she is, 51. She looks fabulous. By the way, I found out all the business things she's done. I was unaware of how business and sharp the acumen she has as a business
Yeah.
person. But she quite bluntly said, a Latin speaking person with an accent and the way I look, she says there's a lot of stereotypical roles that get offered to me. And
Mhm.
this was something different. So getting back exactly to what you said is not about the money. She was an executive producer. So she must have put out her money for the project as well. Was why did you choose this and how will it better your acting chops?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with Dragoshin, I'm pretty sure Ange didn't talk to him about Bayern. He didn't say, oh, we'll pay you X amount of money or we'll give you X number of chances. He said to him, if you come here, this is the way we're going to play football. If you come here, you get a chance to be part of that. If you come here, you can be part of that, but it's going to happen whether you come or not. I think
Yeah.
that's what he says, and I think the players listen to that and they go, "Yeah, I want to be part of what's going on." That's what James Madison said. He said, "This is going to happen." He said, Ange said to me, "This is the way we're going to play. This is how it's going to happen. Whether you come or not, that doesn't change. Just do you want to be a part of it?" And James Madison's like, "Yeah, I want to be a part of it." So he's at the club, and he turned down bigger clubs to go
You did.
come to us.
You know, he's been gone for so long, like 11 games now or something like that,
Hmm.
in the cup games. What I've missed is that celebration throwing because that is the end result of something fantastic that happened, that he set up the goal with Sonny or he scored the goal that Saar put him in, and then they do that dart thing. And I swear, I'm so looking forward to that because you remember how happy we were as a fan base in those first 10 games when he was basically the best. De Bruyne wasn't playing, the best player in the Premier League, I'm so looking forward to. I hope he doesn't come back too early when he comes back and plays the type of football that you said Ange has been selling to the players coming in and sold to Madison too.
Yeah, I'm all credit to Kulusevski. I think he did a great job. I think GLC's done really well when he's been given the chance. But Madison is a touch above both of those guys, I think, in terms of the ability to pick out the pass that really cuts the opposition apart. I think he really makes us click. And I think he's got a really good understanding with Sonny. And maybe he can build that understanding up with Werner. And I think Werner's a smart player. I think Werner will be able to do that as well. And let's not forget, Werner had his best time at Hoffenheim under Julian Nagelsmann when he was playing from the left. A good attacking side, very similar in approach. Maybe a bit more defensively aware, maybe. But it was we're going to attack and we're going to make the most of what we've got in this side and we're going to shock people. And that's what we're doing at Spurs now. And I love to see it. Love to see it.
There could be a shock coming up on that Friday in the FA Cup fourth round. That's
yeah, I genuinely wouldn't have minded if that game came up a couple of rounds further in. Let's get a couple more games under our belt.
No, it is what it is, and I'm actually looking forward to it. And I'm sure Ange is not hiding. I don't think he's that type of guy. And to be honest, sometimes with people, I wish it was further down, or I wish City were playing Liverpool or something like that. I don't think Ange would think that. I would think that he relishes the challenge. I mean, let's face it, he wants to do well, first time in the Premier League, best league in the world. So he wants to impress and do well and help his family and his life and whatever, become a legend, So I think I'm sensing what he's feeling and relishes the battle. And as you said, 4 days after they come back from their little vacay, they'll be ready to go.
It will definitely be an interesting battle, and we'll see how it goes. I think Guardiola is one of the best Premier League managers we've ever seen. We've seen some very good managers, and some of which I would not like to name check because they've been playing for that other lot or managing that other lot. But we've seen some fantastic managers, and he is up there with the very best. And you can see that by what he's won. Okay, they've had an awful lot of money to spend, but he hasn't always gone out and bought the biggest stars. He hasn't had a Real Madrid type project. He's gone out and he's bought players that fit into the way that he wants to play. And yeah, they cost money, but he's made it work. You haven't seen the kind of disruption that Real Madrid had when they went out and they spent big money on Beckham, Luis Figo, Ronaldo, Zidane. There was disruption in that side because they were all climbing over each other to see who could be the top dog. You don't get that at Man City. But maybe, just maybe, Ange is at that level as well. But he's doing it in his own way. He's his own guy. You're not gonna force him to be something he isn't. He will stand up. He will front up in every press conference. He will take the blame. He'll take the attack on the chin if that's what's coming. He will take the hit. But that he's working his arse off to get those players right to the level he wants them to be and playing the football he wants to see. And that's the kind of football I want to see. So
absolutely,
it works out nicely for me.
Yeah, I think we've got a good second half of the season coming up. If indeed these players are coming back healthy, no fear football. It's lovely to see. Even the goals we scored. I mean, Porro's set pieces were fantastic. We could have scored 3 goals off corners. One hit the crossbar, the other one got saved off the line. It's just dynamic football. You could see we didn't have Kulusevski. We didn't have as much creativity. So you try and do it other ways, which is set pieces. But Timo, that great, as you said, that great pass by Skip to Timo, that was nice. That would be that pass would have served Madison well if he hadn't hit that pass. all
Oh,
Kulusevski.
it's absolutely the kind of pass you could see Madison making, just that
Yeah.
arrowed ball out. But yeah, I mean, I thought Timo had a good game.
Yeah.
I thought Timo was, not our best player, but he was up there in probably top 4 players for that game. He worked so hard, he put it all in, and you can't complain for a guy who's started 2 Bundesliga games, played 200 and something minutes this season. And then he comes in and puts in that kind of performance. This is a guy he is dedicated to putting on his best. I love it. I want to see more of it. So yeah, our next game is on the 26th of January. Obviously, Manchester City. We will be at home against the Citizens in the FA Cup. We will be back the following day to discuss it. I will be here. Ash, you going to be with me?
I'll be there.
Excellent. Look forward to seeing you there. And until then, gentlemen, let's all say it together. Come on, you Spurs.
On you Spurs.